All systems go. As I ask myself, right as I'm about to begin here, I wonder what will happen on today's show. Immer, as they say, always a surprise. Immer in German. Learning my German again. 8 years. Need to get better at it. Welcome back, everybody. Artist Journal, August 5th, 2024. Broadcasting from Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, and I guess a massive show note. Going to Argentina, excitingly, for the first time, Buenos Aires, to, I guess there's a crypto conference. Neutro is putting something on. I'm going to do a big show with Neutro next Saturday. It's going to be an Artist Journal live, but it's going to be video. And they have producers and everything. It sounds pretty impressive. I just met with them last night online. So show note, not sure. I fly out on Wednesday, so there will be the Twitter space, the X space audio that we do, but I may just have too much to do on Wednesday. So it's going to be sporadic, probably not as sporadic as before. But the shows, it's going to be kind of, there's going to be a show probably on Saturday. At least that's when we're going to record it. Maybe it gets uploaded Sunday or Monday, again, which will be a live show. And then I'll try and do something, say the Tuesday, Wednesday, let's say Wednesday, and this sort of thing. I want to kind of keep the fire burning here. And unfortunately, this... for me, terrifying work by Rat Cloak, unfortunately, shares those words here of fire burning. So we have a nightmarish work here, as we've come to expect from Rat Cloak, and I mean that in the most generous. Again, words fail. Words fail at a certain point. Of course, Rat Cloak, out of Ukraine, one of the greats of the Tezos that kind of came out of the Tezos ecosystem. I'm someone who I've collected happily, excitedly, and there's always an energy and a poetry to the work. And of course, this just came out, and as I was saying, out of Ukraine, it's hard not to read. It's hard not to read what this painting is about. So I'll give you my take, and we can just leave it at that. And it's actually a very simple take. It's a horrifying take, actually. But this artist, I would argue, I've seen actually other artists from Ukraine that showed in the contemporary art scene here. Where was it? Martin Gropius Bau, which is kind of a prominent contemporary art place. They had Brian Eno exhibition, which was pretty cool a few months ago here in Berlin. But to me, Rat Cloak is more there's an immediacy to the work here. Of course, there's the war in Ukraine where Rat Cloak is. And what do we see here? If we look at it literally, before we look at it metaphorically, I mean, literally we see two people digging up what looks like melted people who all seem to be actually kind of surprisingly happy. And this is something that Rat Cloak has been doing, kind of a motif, we might call it a visual motif, this kind of liquefying people. Kind of mysterious. I'll just show you quickly. I brought it up, I think. Yeah, we saw it here in these previous episodes, these people liquefying. And I'm starting to get terrified as to what this means. I'm wondering to myself, are these people that have passed that Rat Cloak knows? I don't know. It's a little horrifying, but it's what it is. I mean, finally, I heard in July, the numbers are shocking. And again, this is not a news channel, but for us to understand the context of what we might be looking at here, I heard as high as 60,000 Ukrainians dead in July. This is like ancient Rome, like the Pyrrhic victory, where Pyrrhus actually won a battle against Rome. I think there was 80,000 dead in that battle. And that's like a famous historic battle. We're not even really seeing and I think supposedly Ukrainian government said 30,000, whatever it is. It's too nightmarish to really English. I almost don't feel like I should talk about it. What do I have to say about this? I don't. What do I understand about this? But of course, we have someone who I assume is in the country. I don't know. I don't know anything. And here we have what look like people who are liquefying being sent into this infernal furnace here that actually has hellishly has a smile on its face. And even this kind of almost like a Bosch-like, craziness here, kind of madness to the eye, a horrific madness, this kind of anthropomorphic oven, almost this smile, horrifyingly. And here these, tortured people shoveling these happy, liquefied, friends into the furnace. Or people. Who knows if they're friends? Here's another. So again, I don't really have, the work speaks for itself. You interpret it how you will. This is how I read it, and it's quite a strong statement here. And again, to say it's beautifully painted, which it is, seems to be shallow to comment like that. But it's what it is. It's what it is. And so again, as we zoom out a little bit here, I don't think anybody has captured, particularly this image, to me, is the image that's captured a lot of this war. I assume that's what we're looking at here. More than any other artwork I've ever seen, interestingly. And it's also the most horrific and the most kind of down to home. It makes you feel, which I'd argue is hopefully one of the benefits of art. It kind of renders the abstract, it brings it home where you feel it again, and it's not just some abstraction of 60,000 people, or 30,000, or frankly 2,000, whatever the number is. And here, again, you don't see people who are sad. You see actually people who are laughing, which to me is more terrifying. So another terrifying image, frankly, from Rat Cloak. It's not the first, and it's probably, hopefully, not the last. As Bazaya brilliantly put it here. And it's funny. I sold some work this weekend, so I finally had some Tezos back in the wallet. As Bazaya put it, grabbed mine. I saw this tweet, and I was like, "What? I can't believe I haven't collected this yet." Grabbed mine. Is the best artist in Tezos, and he is Ukrainian. Just don't try to understand it. Just Cloaksy. Rat Cloak, also known as Cloaksy. Simplemente el loco, the crazy one. Well earned. Well earned. El loco. Well earned. So a beautiful homage here from Bazaya. Again, from this kind of creme de la creme, these kind of old school Tezos artists. I grabbed mine too after I saw this message, and I just realized I had to have this work. And so, tough beginning, but you just never know how these things, I couldn't not start with that work. It was it's such a powerful work. So Rat Cloak, and as you saw here, always kind of a haunted artist, I would argue, a very nice person though. On X, and has always been really a huge supporter of this show from like very, very, very early. And just an awesome artist. I've collected a ton of this work. I think I may have this. I'm not sure if I have that one. I think I have a few of these, two or three of these one-of-ones here. They're selling for ridiculously, some of them sold for a fortune. Some of them sold for ridiculously cheap. I think I got the first one. Made on a phone, by the way. Just an awesome artist. And actually, I spent a fair amount of money on this, $750 in the bear market. But what a steal. What a steal. Look at this work. When these are like the Microsoft Paint works, the labor, and you even see a little bit of the airbrush, the dexterity, the color, the poetry And you see here, again, this was, I believe, July 4th, 2022, a couple of months, 3 or 4 months, let's say 4 months after the Ukraine war started. 500 Tezos, which at the time was about $750. Now Tezos, I think I saw 59 cents today. Anyways, big shout out to Rat Cloak. Stay safe. Beautiful, brilliant, terrifying work as usual. Coming up, we have another kind of classic Tezos, out of Tezos ecosystem, but now everywhere artist, Martin Joe. The great Martin Joe of the Kinky Bears, doing a lot of AI, digital art, kind of bringing in a kind of a kink S&M kind of vibe, always kind of disturbing, back to more disturbing art. So we have another classic here, a Tezos classic. You should know, if you don't know Martin Joe, come join us and come hang out. I'm thrilled. I can't believe it's been this long I don't think, Martin Joe has talked on the spaces, some of the early ones, but I don't think we ever made him a guest. So I'm thrilled about that. So that's coming up this Wednesday. So come check it out. It should be awesome. And if you're wondering who Martin Joe is, art, coffee, horror, and kink enthusiast. Of course, I'm sure you recognize, at least people who watch this show, many of these works, and just a really awesome artist and just a total original, as Ballard says, pursuing his own obsessions, as they say. So just a really awesome artist. So that is coming up. Also putting out some work on rodeo. This is, we were happy and didn't know it, and again, always this kind of suggestive scene with the food and the bears and almost like the Dom outfit there. And of course, I love these works. The morning, what are they called? The Got Coffee, maybe the Coffee Bears. Of course, I follow Martin Joe. That is a Twitter glitch. So anyway, I love, these newer AI artworks are becoming quite grand narrative works, aren't they? So that is coming up Wednesday. So also a big shout out and thank you. Thank you to everybody who collected these works here. Shark Bite Swimmer. I had this on my phone for a while and it was 90% done and it needed that 10% finish. So I finally did it and finished the work this weekend. I'm trying to put out more art and it's working, actually. So I'm thrilled about that. Big, massive thank you. Kurt Hustle Collective, Josh, Kobe, Cedar Plank, awesome. First Syndrome, awesome. Yang Wong, Bug Matrix, One of One, Guava Lemon, Ile, Klaus, and Ahek. Thank you all. Means a lot. Also, comments last episode, new contrasts. So a few comments here. Ed Marola. Great episode as always. Thank you. I'm loving the discussions around art philosophy. Love how it makes me more confused every time we dig in more. That's actually a good sign. It sounds to me like you're actually thinking, Ed. And what I mean by that is, back to Platonism and Socratic philosophy, I believe they call that an aporia, where the question gets kind of, where Socrates will kind of, someone will think they know something, let's say that we know what art is, and then Socrates will do a little number on them as far as start asking them questions and what they know, and then they realize they don't know, and then they have an aporia, like kind of a confusion of sorts. And so, as you say here, so to me, that this is actually very bullish. It shows that we're actually doing some real thinking, here, you and me and everybody involved in this conversation. So thank you for the comment. Awesome to hear. Mumbleboy. Hi, Adrian. This is super interesting. Thanks for featuring my work again. I used to live within walking distance to the Museum of the Moving Image. So who knew? So Mumbleboy lived in New York, I guess, and actually once made an installation there, collaborating with two of my friends. It was a piece called Mumble Hop, so doing the mumble thing for quite a while here, which was a Flash interactive piece. Amazing. Flash, of course, Steve Jobs kind of killed Flash in 2010, I believe it was. It was a very simple game piece in which you hopped on 3 pieces of floor mats, which controlled the character within the projected animation in front of you. I'm not sure exactly when that was exhibited, but I think it was around 2004. Amazing. They still have the program file there, and there was talk about adding it to the permanent collection, but it hasn't happened yet. The place is a very peculiar blend of old and new, and they often have movie screenings and talks by artists. Definitely worth going to if you're ever in New York City. Regarding JPEGs, I don't think they will they will be into still images, but anything that moves at all, they are definitely open to. So there is an answer for us from Mumbleboy. Awesome to hear, Mumbleboy, and very impressive. I mean, putting work in the Museum of the Moving Image back in 2004, that's 20 years ago. So Mumbleboy not new to this digital art thing. Runetune. Museum of Moving Images has been around for a very long time. I don't know how long, but the first time I went to see it, it was in 2015, and it was simply because I discovered that Red Grooms had a movie theater installation there. I'm not sure who Red Grooms is. Oh, and yes, I need to see if your Tempelhof is still loaded on my Kindle. Actually, I need to put that on my website. Thank you for sending those over to me, Runetune. They look very cool. I want to put them on my website just as kind of an interesting example of this idea that, and we're going to get into this. I'm looking at the frozen image there. I'm this idea that when you make a physical iteration of a piece, I would argue, and we're going to actually have a tab that we're going to go into here, that's a different iteration of the piece. I'm becoming more and more kind of clear on this in my head. And in the case of, and that physical iteration, how it takes that digital file and finishes it is a kind of a collaboration of sorts, or a kind of like that is part of this new art piece that uses that, say, GIF in the case of the Tempelhof image. So thank you, and thank you for developing that whole conversation, Rune. Very interesting on last week's Spaces. Mr. Art, I watched the last Artist Journal. Thank you for the advice to get started. Awesome. So Misty Art, I think I've got it all figured out finally. Awesome. Yeah, it's not rocket science, but it does require an afternoon of and jumping off the deep end and not knowing what you're doing. Side note, moving artwork in specific has to be most inspiring of all the NFTs I've seen, and the main reason I've become interested in this sort of thing. Yeah, moving artwork, exactly. Like, you don't need to worry. If I move apartments, like, nothing to worry about as far as the digital art collection is concerned. Correct me if I'm wrong, are NFTs more than a digital receipt and sort of a fun item for people to trade and collect in a trading card sort of way? Why do they hold value? So they're both, as I answered here. An NFT is basically, as far as I understand it, it's basically a digital receipt on the blockchain, but the receipt also points to a file, a JPEG that is online, IPFS, interplanetary file server, which also is kind of decentralized. And so ultimately, an NFT is that image, that these images that we're looking at are often called NFTs. And when you buy it, it gets registered on the blockchain. So you have ownership, so to speak. You have proof of ownership, so to speak. I hope that clears it up. So it's basically both. Let me continue here before my computer crashes on us. The computer is doing great, by the way. New contrast. Also, comments on the X. Kels, great show, Adrian. And the last one, too, in real life has been a beast lately, so I'm falling behind, but you're giving me life here. So, yeah, of course, Kels doing YouTube there, so check that out. And I still need to send Kels an invite to Pixel Network. It's kind of a slow-moving thing right now, so... yeah, but that's on the way, Kels, and thank you for your patience. My challenge had a second part that maybe didn't show. It's difficult to be thorough in a limited space, definitely the cat. Okay, so talking about the cats in paper bags, AI art series, I think we have another one. The cat and, oh wait, this is a different thing. My challenge had a second part that maybe didn't show. It's difficult to be thorough in a limited space. Definitely the cat and bird are beautiful to me. Right. So we're talking about, can animals appreciate beauty? Where is beauty? Is it in our minds? In a sense, in platonic terms, just like justice, does beauty exist? Does justice exist? The Platonists would argue, actually, these are real things, in the world of the forms, but they're invisible realities. They're not enmattered, but they are real, right? Just like math, right? So yeah. So this is kind of the discussion that's being had here. The cat and bird are beautiful to me from your inner perception, and maybe adding that was more poetic. When I spoke of the bee's perception, it's because I witnessed a bee singing loudly in a flower. So in its own language of beauty, it was an unusual bee in expression. Right, almost like you see like birds singing, right? Another example which you were kind of mentioning here. But that's only one example. How can we know other creatures do not experience beauty? We don't know. But they're also not making art. It's probably like morality. It's probably like a very simple. Like, I think dogs kind of might have a clue on morality, but it's probably super basic. And to call it morality is maybe, but who knows? I mean, nobody knows. I mean, they used to think that animals didn't have, like, feel pain, or babies. And imagine what they did. That's insane, right? So who's to say? I agree with you. We don't know. I agree we're different from other animals, but it's hard to define and good to keep contemplating. The issue of art is separate, arguably. So, and love your quote, my paintings are questions. Glad to hear. And, you know, I thought it was so funny that it took 344 episodes for me to get to that kind of art school quote. Interestingly, because I used to say that. August Ground, awesome to hear from you too. Thank you everybody for the comments. And just quick look at the community here. Golo, and I brought this up, Peddler with Bag and Horn, so we couldn't see the preview, but I thought I would bring it up here. Here's the work by Gola Colo, edition of 3 for 7 Tezos each, posted in the community. And here also Bosque Grazia at Venice, Italy. Bosque traveling Europe, nice work. Probably seeing the Biennale. Very cool. GM Deers, new collab with Base ADX, creating while traveling from our meeting in Valencia, because we are not in vacations. We are meeting artists with co-working in this trip. Follow us. We are minting in this collection. And so cool work here. Thank you for posting, Bosque. I hope you have continue to have a great trip. Maybe I'll see you at the end of August if that works out. Louis JPD making this new piece for Spirit of Hen. Of course, I'm going from the 7th to the 25th to Argentina. Louis JPD making this new piece for Spirit of Hen. A few screenshots of making of process in Blender. One of the most rewarding aspects of using this 3D software for digital art for object is that you can constantly try out and learn new things. Very cool. Yeah, and I find every software I learn, I kind of feel like there's something I can kind of take from it. Violet Trip, Catch the Spirit 32-bit video loop and music. Very cool. Nice dithering there. And here we have some music. Wild one. Catch the Spirit. Love it. This is on Manifold. Interesting place to post. Lejo X. Actually, this is going to come in. I brought this in the show. This is halfway through the show, so we'll take a closer look later in the show. Thank you for posting that. Martin Joe, my first work on rodeo.club. So another work by Martin Joe on Rodeo. So go check that out. And of course, Martin's going to be on the Space on Wednesday. And we saw this work, this post. Thank you, Rosacho, for posting last episode. Let's continue. Sabato, awesome to hear from you. Deeply honored to be on the cover of the tabloid of the imagination. It's the newspaper of the imagination. Awesome to hear from you, Sabato. And again, congratulations. All those auctions seem to have done very, very well. So just an awesome show there. Great to hear from Ripcash. Pocobelli's Artist Journal series is always worth a watch. Catching up on episodes over the weekend. So, of course, Ripcash just sold, like, I think it was like $250,000 just sold his work, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it 2.6 Bitcoin? I mean, do the math. At 60 Bitcoin, that would be like, I guess it would be like 180 or 200, whatever it was, you know, like pretty good. So, again, Saturday night I saw that here in Berlin, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. So thank you, Ripcash, for the support. Not the first time either. Ripcash supported way back in October a few times, so totally appreciated. And beautiful work. Love showing Ripcash's work here. Cal Flemmer, thanks for speaking about my work in today's Artist Journal. Here's what the second image looks like after sending it through a CRT. Minting Be Not Afraid on August 6th. So, again, this is when we were talking about, you know, scratching the surface of digital art. It's like you can just go, okay, and then take that, and then I could, you know, start filtering it through whatever else. And, you know, like it's endless. Like I feel like we're just at the start. And this could be like, you know, you could also turn this into a high contrast, like black and white and screen printed and probably be beautiful. Right? So it's just kind of like, it's endless, isn't it? Like we are scratching the surface here. Interestingly, and again, I'm kind of back to like, it's almost like software capability. You might, you know, say is another quality of the second generation of digital art where there's way more softwares. We're talking about, you know, the preeminence of the screen over the physical as being a difference between the second and the first generation as a thesis. You could also argue the preeminence of softwares, where exporting is more possible and easier, as we're seeing here, even though this is analog. But I would argue it's kind of a second generation mindset to generalize, and this is a big generalization. Of course, there's like video artists back in the 70s and everything you could call digital and where the screen was permanent. So these are big generalizations, but just painting with a broad brush. Zora, always thank you for featuring my work. It's really, thank you for featuring my work. It's really huge what you do for all of us. P.S. I do physical collages. That one was just also spray painted on the second layer. So these are physical. So quick correction there. Thank you for correcting that. So it's physical, not digital collages. Ilya's Aaron. And here's the thing I'm going to. Neutro put out a post in Spanish. Latin American culture builders. I think it's this thing, because I recognize all these names here. So, yeah, should be awesome. So if you're in Buenos Aires on Saturday, we're doing a big thing there. So I'm flying out on Wednesday. So just wanted to touch on this. ArtNet, massive Rafik Anadol AI data painting will anchor the new LA Clippers Stadium. And forgive the freeze here. It's late in the day, so I cannot restart this show. So hopefully, again, we survive this episode. So I don't want to go too deep into this, but here, Rafik Anadol, again, it's like the art world and the top echelon of society decides, okay, that's gonna be the star and everybody else, and we're just gonna push this one guy as the be all end all. And hey, nothing against Rafik Anadol. Congratulations, in a sense. But I just thought to myself, and here's a thought experiment for you. Like, what if you had Inigo Bilbao's Mickey Mouse there? For example, I mean, how devastatingly amazing would that look is basically the question I want to leave you with. That would be like, holy, what is going on over there? So to me, that's just, that thought experiment to me is a lesson in the importance of having just other voices, visual voices in the conversation here. Very interesting as we follow the market. Of course, I follow the great GloomTube. That is a X-glitch when you load up a bunch of tabs like I do. A bunch of old stuff just zipped away on secondary. So more kind of fires. I started picking up stuff that I kind of missing pieces of the collection as well, including one of my old favorites, target audience or chat snitches on. So this was a great GloomTube. I don't think I have that one. Anyways, so GloomTube reporting a bunch of secondary sales. Interestingly, yeah, I've been starting to fill in the collection a little bit with proceeds from artworks. It's very fun. Very fun. You gotta love collecting on Tezos. It is so fun. For whatever reason. The Wolf of Ballmeat. Artists, what are your thoughts if an artwork has been minted and sold as a one-of-one NFT? Is it okay for artists to make prints of the same artwork and sell signed editions? And there's a fallacy in the question. Because I would argue, and although I understand the meaning, I'd argue it's not the same artwork. That is where I am on this conversation, where if I make a JPEG and then I make a physical, that's a different artwork. It uses the same source file, but it's a different artwork. It is a different experience. And I'd argue it's just like if you take a photo of a physical painting, what you're buying, I would argue, is a photo of a painting. And that's okay. Right? But as an NFT. So it works both ways. Like, I just go, it's what it is, which is rendering of a JPEG, let's say, on a piece of paper or a screen print. So to me, that just keeps everything simple. It's clear. It seems super accurate, right? So it's not the same artwork. It uses the same image. It uses a JPEG, let's say, to print it out, but it's not the same artwork. It's a completely different experience if you have a print of an artwork or you're looking at it on a screen. It's a different artwork. So all to say, it's more than fine. If anything, I would say it's a good idea for artists to do this, as I've discussed before. If there are any issues with the blockchain, let's say you put your work on ordinals, let's say IPFS goes down for whatever reason, it's not crazy at all, I would argue. I've been thinking about the name Interplanetary File Server. Doesn't give me the sense of resilience, to be honest. Like, that's a pretty ambitious name, and and again, I'm not here to FUD IPFS. I just put up a work. That shark work was put on IPFS. I'm not here to FUD it. And I'm happy that it works, that we have a system that works here. I'm just saying you should be making physical versions of your work in case these systems go down. And it's also just good for business, and it shows dexterity. It shows a broad ability and it shows just range is the word I like to use with that. Zora, it's the 1 year anniversary of Protocol Rewards. In other words, of free mints. It's only been a year, amazingly, introducing a new on-chain model for Ethereum and expanding value for all. So, of course, now we see this on Rodeo, different blockchains. But Zora was the pioneer, as far as I understand. We've seen creators earn $9.4 million. I mean, amazing. Create and mint refers earn 7.6. First minters earn 3.4. Because of course, I guess you get more money. You get money if you're the first to mint it. You kind of get revenue. I mean, ours truly. So there it is, introducing Protocol Rewards a year ago, August 3rd. So pretty amazing what Zora has done here. And I think the reason they're successful is because they were very generous with the rewards to artists. Because ultimately, artists are going to go where they're paid the best, who treats them the best. And that's the secret. And that's why people continue to use Zora. And as long as Zora keeps paying, they will continue to use it. So congratulations to Zora. Sky Goodman. I'll be minting on Tezos as per usual, regardless of price. It's home and I'm working on a little series there. It is just too much fun. You know, I saw the crash in the markets this morning, a Bitcoin below, it was at 49,000. I think it's at 52,000. Big drawdown in Bitcoin. Plus, I've been through this a million times by now. I'm impervious. I kind of feel the same way. I was almost kind of excited. I was like, oh, is there going to be a buying opportunity here? Oh, Tezos art is getting really cheap. Isn't this, good from a collector's point of view? And as far as selling the art, well, you don't need to take it out of the ecosystem. And of course, I follow Sky Goodman. You don't need to take it out of the ecosystem. You can just buy other art with it. So it's kind of like you're not really losing to a certain degree, unless you're living off of Tezos. That's a different story because your fiat is not worth as much. But if you're not living off of it, you can still kind of collect as before. Not a big deal. Interestingly, Mikey de la Creme, if you haven't figured it out yet, all roads lead back to Tezos art scene. I like that. Tezos, really does, I would say, play a very special, it has a very special place in the digital art scene. It has earned it. So I agree in large respect with Mikey de la Creme, who's going to be a guest. I'm very pleased to announce a week from Wednesday. After Martin Joe this week, then Mikey is the week after. Long overdue there too. Lamoon. So Midjourney version 6.1 is fun. So looks like a new Midjourney is out. This one looks pretty wild. You kind of got to keep tabs on this stuff because all of a sudden you're going to get all these crazy images in one of these updates. So very interesting. Here's Element Leaf flame pattern, and I suspect this is still incorporating physical work that's kind of being brought into the digital world. So again, as I always say out here, my mantra, and one I'd argue the big themes of what I'd argue today's contemporary art, traveling through the mediums. Many artists do this. I do this. Element Lee is doing this. And it looks like, so Element Lee has gone from digital, and then we saw painting the cardboard or doing laser engraving on the cardboard. Now I think we're seeing the opposite, where we're seeing pen drawings go into digital. So very cool artist. Here's another one. Doesn't it just look like a pen drawing? Maybe it's real estate. Maybe it's added to, though. Maybe there's little details that are contributed. I'm not sure. So interesting work from Element Lee as usual. Keeping it interesting. Here's Dan Kelly, who does those dogs and also had the crazy pixel artwork with the yellow head. It's been a minute since I showed my production process for Draw a Dog Tuesday. Did you know I draw them on a 3D scanner using Inchworm animation? I've never heard of, I think 3DS is 3D scanner. I'm also too lazy to export every week, so this is my method to photograph them. Again, traveling through the mediums. And we were discussing this with Martin Bruce, who takes pictures of the screen, something I've done as well. And here, you're wondering how Anthony Kelly gets these great textures. Well, just puts a phone on top of what looks like a Game Boy there. And I think we have actually, my birthday today, another year rotated around the sun. Happy birthday, Dan Kelly. And here, gotta kill that immediately for copyright reasons. So yeah, so here you see the power. Again, we're just scratching the surface. Like, not only do we have all the softwares in the digital world, but then there's all the physical sensors and phone camera over a Game Boy. It's kind of endless. Again, just scratching the surface here. Umiverse. This looked really cool. Every subpixel matters. Low res pixel cams. So check this out. It looks like maybe this is scanning this book. Look at this. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. All of these could be a foundation for an artwork, right? And an interesting one. So clearly, when I see this, I say clearly the energy is in digital. Where in painting, you go to an art fair and it's like, you get the sense of like this, the word in my head, which I don't want to use, this desperate attempt to make things new. And I guess they've done it with airbrush, right? But like there's a desperate attempt to kind of do new things with these old tools. So you see these new tools for making art. To me, it's just become clearer and clearer that it's kind of the place to be. From my own perspective. Pixel Fool. UI design should have stopped there. I thought this was quite hilarious and interesting, and there's quite an elegance. Again, here you almost run into where design meets art, right? Because it's so beautiful, right? It is utilitarian. It is a control panel. This looks like the real control panel on the Mac, but I mean, you could put that, it looks like you could make a print of this and put it on your wall and you'd probably enjoy it as art. So kind of almost riding in two categories there. As I was saying, it's not this black or white thing, right? You could argue it's poetic. Dan Control, so just another, look at this interesting kind of Mylar clip here and then this crop. Dan Control is such an interesting artist from a conceptual point of view, as we've noted here over and over. This looks like a piece of a painting. And why not? Again, I'd argue Dan Control seems to be asking this question here. Why not take a part of a painting and I could make 100 paintings out of this larger digital painting just by taking little crops or highlights, and I can sign that, make an edition. Why not? Why not? Why not? I mean, it's again, we're kind of like, yeah, not only can you turn your digital into a physical, not only are we down with that, but in fact, you can make 100 different physicals out of that one digital. I'd go so far as to say. Andrew Ripped, free mints just make sense when you have the White Walls app to show off your amazing work. So here we see Heatwave by Uxine, and we actually have that coming up here. So just another cool display. Look how good that looks in the dark. And look at these beautiful brush strokes by Uxine in this work. We'll take a closer look in a second. Very cool. Andre Oliveira Cebola. I think this is in Spanish or Portuguese, but you get the picture here as you see just another iteration of digital, rendering digital art. And here it's almost like green lasers doing it. So very interesting there. Continuing on, Noah Verrier. So we saw this as a painting. Now it's on a sweatshirt, hilariously. My oil painting of McDonald's DC on a sweatshirt. And yeah, so available now on Noah Verrier's website. So just interesting. And getting like 30,000 views in election season is pretty rad. Here's also Santiago. Art by myself at my parents'. Of course, I follow Santiago, the great Santiago. And here, beautiful work. Just doing a couple of quick pieces here from Santiago. Nice physical artwork. And of course, Machine. It's Friday. And here, just to look at this composition. Very original composition here. Great work. Fantastic work. As we go into the digital works here, Rinnyfish. I'm not sure if we looked at this. I don't think so, though. No sound on this one. Kind of a more minimal Rinnyfish. Beautiful color here. And I just love this kind of mini pixelated rendering here. Really leaves a nice texture, and you have this kind of sparkle. Great color. Again, these kind of very psychedelic pastels here. I heard someone wants to eat. Eat me. Yeah, it looks very edible. You can mint. Mint's still available. You know, I was looking at Murakit on Zora. I was like, I got to mint some of those works. Too late. Missed my chance. And they're not even large mints. These gorgeous works that we're looking at. This is already over. You got to be fast sometimes on Uxine Heatwave. You got to be fast sometimes on Zora. Look at these beautiful strokes here. So very painterly, digital painterly work here by Uxine, and just a nice simple work here, kind of using this kind of arch, kind of Roman arch with like a monk inside on fire, interestingly. Heatwave. So kind of a commentary, I guess, on the weather. It's probably pretty hot in Turkey. Continuing on, Yuri J with a couple of stoves. Look at these. Again, just tons of energy I see in this, in these works, in all of these works. The creativity, exploring all these possibilities. You know, we saw this with Yuri J before, and let's see if we can. Okay, that's maximum. We saw this in Yuri J before, which is kind of doubling the layers in some places, but not all. Really cool technique. We have another one. Here it is, a washing machine. So again, doing these kind of domestic machines around the house, you know, which is kind of, 33, which is kind of Yuri J's kind of, I'd say, also landscapes, but a lot of interiors, almost like domestic interiors. So very cool there. Here's Zuozo, picked up by Lejo X for 60 Tez. So raising the price and still selling very quickly. Let's see if we can get this going. Check the title, Green Moon Reflections. Kind of soothing. Slightly different audio track there too from Green Zuozo, from Green Zuozo. Look at this experimental work from Nev 1914. Different Directions, I think in Spanish is how this is called. And so again, and wait till you see the experiment next. I mean, I call it an experiment. Look at even, but I mean, just the, we're seeing different kinds of things. Like, I mean, it's not easy to be constantly creative like this. And even just these edgy things, like it looks like in the background of these flowers here, like this kind of gradient, it looks like a small image that's been stretched or something, or just a wild curved gradient. Up here, I mean, you have to understand, like, would you ever think of doing this, right? This, Flores el Viento, I mean, look at how kind of radical this is. I mean, I'd argue this isn't easy to go, you know what? I have this paint strokes and they're kind of blurry and I'm going to put them on and I'm going to put this out and this is what it's going to be. I mean, these are radical decisions here. Edition of 1, 15 Tezos still available. And here's Michi Asu, Selfie in the Afterlife. So, of course, we discovered Michi last week, and there's a selfie in, I guess that's heaven, in the afterlife here, the yellow and green afterlife. So, again, more kind of wild decisions here. Kind of a edgy, kind of not sure what's going on. That almost looks like an elevator there. So this is edition of 5 for 350. And Cider, I think, is going to do a new series with cars. And we see some of these classic kind of Cider textures, distortions, transformations. And I saw in a different tweet, I think it's going to be part of a new series. So very interesting, and always having these great textures. Look at this tire coming down. Maybe it's the shadow. Doesn't matter. Beautiful. From Cider. And here's Bazaya, who we're hearing from at the start of the show, who, of course, I follow. La Verdadera Mesa. What is that? Middle of the day, maybe, I don't know. Grass? I'm not sure. Minting soon. If you're interested, contact Bazaya. So a nice keyboard there. And then, what are these called again? I can't remember. My grandfather used to play one of these. It's been that long. I can't remember the word for it. Anyway, interesting composition here. As you see, these players, that looks like Maradona, and just the way that, very interesting composition, isn't it? This from a spatial point of view, and then flowers surrounding everything. Super interesting. Here is Stolka, and we saw this work in progress. Here's the finished work. Almost looks like a photograph in the background, interestingly. digitally painted in the foreground for sure. Interesting piece. This is on Zora. This is called Forgotten Summer, poetic title. Mint, 21 minted so far, and 77 days to go. Here's Wasteman Goldminovich. I thought the title of this was hilarious. The Failed Artist 87, Self-Portrait, How I Stopped Being a Loser and Became a CEO, and How You Can Too. So, satirizing the coaching, so to speak, and they're holding what looks like a gold bar, and there is the iconic cast, and on black, interestingly. And so the failed artist moving up in the world with a little bit of coaching. And you can too. $7,000 an hour can be yours if you follow these simple steps. Indeed. Indeed. I'm a huge fan of actually Brian Tracy and all the coaching, but I still love that work. The Turkish Chad, the myth. So hilarious. So playing off the Olympics, I believe. Here's the myth. So new work by the myth. Interesting treatment of the writing there. Very nice, isn't it? Nice kind of painting. 6 minted so far. This is on Zora from Myth. And continuing on, here's Cesar, Digital Deceit. So here, kind of more illustrative. And there we see a crucifixion and kind of looks very similar to the other artist. I think it's the same artist, actually, whose name escapes me at the moment. The North Safe. That's funny. Look at all the details here, because it seems to be the same painting style and even the same subject matter. I assume it's the same artist. Continuing on, Dana Ulama. This is probably an old work, but check it out. Look at how beautiful this is. And even the little glitch and everything. So I guess it's morning and night. Beautiful, beautiful. Subway in the morning. Beautiful. Seba Sestaro, Pieces of an Endless Dream. And so... Gonna kill the volume there because I don't know if that's a song from that is copyright. So interesting, kind of a more extended animation here from Seba Sestero. Kind of surreal illustrator, often kind of portraying the inside, kind of inner space, the inside of the mind, and even interesting there with the wave, kind of dreamlike. And here a beautiful work. I have to pick up one of these. Last Jake Studios in the Spirit of Hen. I thought just a great work. This broken JPEG, and here is the Jake Studios figure, and it looks like it's over a cliff or something. And look at how huge this work is. And you see all the details. Beautiful work of this broken JPEG. Just awesome. Edition of 500, only a Tezos, which is getting pretty cheap. Here is Quampa, Color Type Study in Microsoft Paint 2024. So here we see another work in progress from Quampa. Interesting color here. Every recent work originates in language and letter forms and takes into consideration how letter forms come together to form compositions. Interesting. The language that I chose for the series is Tamil and is an extension of the work font titled Ilai by my friend. So interesting. Seeming to use, if I understand this right, like letters as a foundation. Yeah, the image of letter, like letters as image, right? I believe. Demon Ego, a work, and this is on Foundation. Let's see if we can make this bigger. This is on Base, and Demon Ego having a pretty good year here. Let's see if it loads up here. Might have to just leave it small. Here it is. So maybe a bigger file. So again, combining physical, digital, animation. So interesting loop here from Demon Ego, Unfinished Evolution in 12 stages, and 0.0067 ETH, and again, 12 minted so far of 20. This is on Foundation. Nice collecting. 12 of 20 is pretty good, if you ask me. Mumble Boy, Earth 260. So really nice piece. Of course, we heard from Mumble Boy in the intro, having lived near the Museum of the Moving Image. So another beautiful work here from the very prolific Mumble Boy. Quite another just head-turning work here. Earth 260, edition of 1, only 12 Tezos. Very nice. And here's Evelyn, who of course I follow, Evelyn O, putting out some works in progress, I believe. I'm not sure if these are finished, but they're pretty cool abstracts, if you ask me. Kind of looking like sampled brushes and maybe digital brushes. They're looking pretty good. Here's another one. Right now, is this just a different color? No, it's different work, I'm pretty sure. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Again, just endless possibilities here. This is an older work, but I thought it was also cool using sampled brushes here, as we see, kind of dragged. You see Martin Bruce. It's kind of, there are some contemporary, traditional, like trad contemporary artists who also use sampled brushes, whose name escapes me right now, but some really good ones. It's just a very interesting technique. It has its own kind of feel, turning that into an abstract for the most part with some eyeballs. Klaus picked this up. Again, that's a couple months old. And I think this is one we haven't seen before. From Braun, not sure, because I don't remember something looking like a city with almost smoke coming out of it. So interesting abstract here. Again, I don't think we can maximize it. 52 minted on Rodeo. Here is Drain. Interesting piece, just an interesting abstract here, kind of digital forms and colors. Here's Walk with a couple of works, AV Collection, Emilia Versace Vault picking that up for 10 Tezos. Very nice one, and also a very nice one, Magnemite from Walk. So you can put your bid in, 1 Tezos right now from Walk. Very cool kind of digital image, native digital image. Melt Chrysalis, this is by Bay Fragile. Can't remember where I saw this one. This I think I discovered on X. Maybe it was someone's collection. I'm not sure. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Pretty interesting abstract. So let me just make sure I'm following. Okay, I am following Bay Fragile now. Interesting artist. Here is Ranixdeer. And this is actually on Zora. Okay, so energy field. Kind of almost looks like a landscape there. So beautiful work here, abstract from Ranixdeer. Look at even the little blur that goes out at the bottom going to solid. So nice minimal art from Ranixdeer. Here's Cube, and this has 22 minutes. This is by Lena Eckhart. I don't think there is volume here. Interesting kind of square, kind of animated abstract, different colors. This is also on Rodeo, edition of 22 minted so far. Here is Lejo X. So this was sent to me. It was kind of going around. It looked like a pretty cool work. And so, as you see here. So I think it's Lejo X wrote me a message, I think, saying their first work. So how cool is that? So interesting beginning, Lejo X. Very cool. I like that background there, too. Edition of 25, and I think just sent out. Here is interesting Polygon 1993, the dance lesson. Now, this was put out with OpenSea, and they put out an interview and everything. So, of course, Polygon 1993 putting out some pretty interesting, I guess, remixes, kind of like, again, of, famous imagery. This one, I don't know where the dancer came from. So, interesting work put out by OpenSea, I believe, on Base. Lena Eckhart, again, this is on rodeo.club, so putting out more work here. So cool kind of glitch. This might be lower resolution because it's on Twitter, but interesting piece. And here is Sean Luke, Arcane Bonds, quite prolific as well. So another interesting animated abstract from Sean Luke here, who has a massive collector base and transferred probably to previous collectors on Object. That pinball guy, 3 pinballs. And so interesting piece here of pinball machines, isn't it? Aren't they? So this is an edition of 3 for 3 Tezos, 1 sold. And here the great Haiti Rocket Warp. So a Nintendo glitch ROM. Look at how cool that is. Look at how rad that is. So very nice piece here, and 690, and I think I brought this up right. I had spent my last Tezos, otherwise I was like, darn, I could have got this Haiti Rocket. Shall we see? As I risk freezing everything here, 9 editions. Okay, it's like if it was an edition of 3, yeah, it's always good to have Tez in your wallet. Horse racing. So this is Silva Santus, another Nintendo glitch ROM, also playing again with the racing theme, kind of interesting. Glitched out the clouds and different aspects of the work kind of moving, whether it's the clouds or the landscape. This is an open edition and 6 minted so far. Here is Muji on Zora and 11 minted so far. So cool kind of retro computer, kind of dithered out, a little bit of animation, a little bit of kind of information going into the computer. Very interesting piece on Zora. Here's Murray Pixel, kind of a different work from Murray Pixel. This is on Foundation. So playing with this beautiful beautifully textured pixels. Again, I want to say kind of filtered or effects on effects, as I always like to say. I assume, who knows? Pececitos. This is on Foundation, and that's Murray Pixel. Nice piece from Murray Pixel. Huge fan. I'm kicking myself for not minting on Zora those gorgeous textured works we're looking at in June. Not taking the time. Paying the price. Naomi Pacquinet, a well-known pixel artist in the scene here. Let's see if there's volume. No, there's no volume on this one. Oh yeah, there is. There is. So just kind of a fun work. It could be an older work, but pretty cool. Beautiful pixel art. GM. So it could be, again, an older work. Here's a newer one from Manidal, Queen Cat of Hen. So Hen, a lot of discussion on Hen online, the old marketplace where really Tezos kind of got its start, really, as far as I understand, in digital art. Now closed and replaced really by Teia and Object. So very nice pixel art work here by Manidal. One Tezos 77. So kind of like Jake Studios was doing a large print run or large series, large edition number, low cost. And here's another one, 10,000 editions by Awesome. Great to see Stippen Pixel again. Only a penny, Tezos penny, so basically free. Really cool pixel artist here. Love their work. There's a lot to discover in Stippen Pixel if you're looking. Kareem Safa, Broken Cube. So interesting as we kind of look at animated abstracts here, a cube being taken apart. Interesting experiment here. From Kareem Safa, here's Andre Oliveira Cebola. Interesting piece. And this was picked up by Retro Manny, edition of 1. So interesting piece. This came out in June, but we missed it. That was 25 Tezos. And I think we have another one on X. Let's see. Then we should wrap up this show pretty quickly. We're almost done, actually. So here, just on X, you see just a cool animated abstract. And here's another one. This is on edition of 5. And we saw a red one the other day. Almost looks like an American flag at times. But who knows? Then some cubes. So interesting artwork by Andre Oliveira. That's on Tezos. And here's some interesting pieces from Françoise Gamma. So a lot of flashing images there. LO1. Here's LO2. And here, LO3. So these are 3 Tezos each, edition of 30, still available. And here is Lorna Mills, Truckin' Specialette, again, getting the titles of the works from Racehorses. And here, kind of suggestive-looking eggs here. Classic Lorna Mills. This is edition of 20 and already 80 Tezos. Die with the most likes. Picking one up for 80 Tezos. Nice work. Wow, so this is actually an older work. Got it. From a couple of years ago. Very cool. Again, these older hen grails or Hiket Nunk works and artists, you get the sense the fires are starting to burn a little bit. As far as a little bit more demand, shall we say, for them. Acid Boy, Enough Vacation, Let's Create, and they're very cheap right now. So Acid Boy with a cool psychedelic animated abstract. Here's Renki Ogotunsen, cool animated abstract, almost looking like a pie chart here. Always keeping it new. Edition of 1, unlisted. Here is Klaus, Downward Stroke. So we saw the GM the other day. Here's another one, and very nice textures. You know, after doing the 250-some compositions, it's really interesting to see the other work that is coming. After doing all those experiments, it leads somewhere. It goes somewhere. Downward Stroke, 26 minted so far. Here's someone called Nebular, August 4th, Earthing, edition of 10. So old, kind of VHS-looking tape here. So nice textures there. 16mm film from the family archive, rescanned by filming the projection with a VHS camcorder in the early 00s, glitched by the passage of time and the erosion of the media, captured from a duplicated VHS and converted to GIF. It almost sounds like it was like a ready-made. It was already ready to go, just through time. fascinating. Edition of 10 for 5 Tezos. And here's LB, I See Ghosts, and again, using analog video gear. Cool work. And here is Ex Mortal with a piece, and this is on Zora. So another beautiful landscape here. As we see the static almost echo the waves there. Beautiful way. That's 4 minted so far on Zora, just listed. Canik Zapata with a cool, so more AI artwork here. So Canik Zapata, glitch artist, been glitching for a long time. So interesting AI artwork as we've been paying attention here. So AI video. Here's Okote, who, of course, we've seen has blown up on Instagram with like 30,000, I think more, followers. It just totally blew up. Only 3 minutes. It just goes to show how how different these scenes are. Like, just because you're doing well on Instagram, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to NFT sales. Interestingly, probably I think it's different on X. But all to say though, it's awesome I think maybe sells a lot of prints on Instagram. So again, it looks like an AI piece. Almost looks like that kind of kitchen tiling. What would you call that? Like glazed tiles. FOMO, interesting title. And here is First Syndrome, who we've seen being collecting, I think picked up a work actually, Olmec Fabric. Shout out to First Syndrome. And here, I think I saw this because Santiago actually retweeted and picked up one of these. So cool AI artwork here from First Syndrome, edition of 3. And yeah, there's Santiago, Artie Hands, and Lejo X. Very cool. And here's Santiago with a couple of very interesting, more beautiful AI paintings here. Just the texture that you're seeing here is simply gorgeous. Look at the white on the yellow. Again, if someone had made this work physical, you'd be like, that person is, destined for great things. If you saw just one work, you'd be like, this person is amazing. Same with this work. So isn't it interesting? Again, compare these works to what you're seeing in the contemporary art gallery. Imagine this has just been painted, that the technology is there where it looks as convincing as a quote-unquote real painting. Very beautiful, beautiful brushwork. Bull market scene number 2. Here's Lily Illo with a beautiful kind of family scene here. Lots of kids and what seems to be a mom. And the mother is also born new at birth. So just a beautiful AI painting here. And here another work by Aile, who of course I follow, huge supporter of this show. Just another beautiful cat in a paper bag. Love the theme. Love the theme. This was interesting too. Bude Mendoza recreated the 1940s scene of Jones Bridge using Blender for the Netflix and GMA Network series. So not exactly sure. It kind of looks like AI to me, to be perfectly honest. When you open this in a new, I probably shouldn't push my luck here. So maybe it's Blender, not sure, but some sort of digital recreation of a photograph. Interesting. Here, of course, is Tukes. Look at this wild work. Tukes, I feel an urge to show images to someone, and it does not matter who it is. Of course, Tukes making images for at least since 2012 and maybe earlier. Has been making images for a long time. Interesting AI artwork. Night Gallery, Robert Nava has generously donated his painting to the Art Crush 2024 auction. So I thought pretty interesting, kind of nice original painting here. It's beautiful. It's not Night Gallery and It's Not Gallery, very interesting galleries here. And you see pretty interesting piece. Charlie Stein, actually, a friend of mine here in Berlin who just moved to New York. So there are happy developments in people's art careers. It's great to see. So look at this, very and deservedly, as you see, this has just worked and worked and worked, and it just went somewhere. It's there's a moral to that story. So very cool, kind of suggestive work there. It's Not Gallery, Henry Gunderson, kind of a wild, almost optical illusion type work here. It looks like a flat 2D painting. It's almost hard to tell. Wild painting. Jeffrey Deitch Gallery. And here's Amelia Versace. My mom hangs my art in her house. Everything else is extra. So a little bit of art in the house. So very cool abstract there. And here is Isolationist, just putting this out on Fake Whale Market. And so a new work here. I always kind of like these edgy, kind of dark portraits here. Edition of 12. and not listed yet. And here, I believe it's Filippo Francocci, GM. Interesting piece in this very detailed, wild abstract. Again, I believe it's physical. That's your show, everybody. Thank you for joining me. And so Wednesday, probably not a show. Probably it's going to be like Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to try and put out shows, like maybe Wednesday, something really quick, but I may not. I may not have time. So it's going to be a little sporadic, but maybe not as sporadic as last time. So thank you again for all the support and joining me. Until next time, take care.